We are all ordinary fathers, and today I'm speaking with one. His name is Ravi Philemon. I hope I pronounced your name correctly. Or Philemon.
Philemon, yeah,
Philemon, okay.
yeah.
Would you like to introduce yourself a little so that people know you a bit more?
I mean, I wear many hats, so it's very difficult to describe who I am. But I always like to think of myself as a father, as an enabler, as someone, as a guide who walks alongside you. And I think I've been the most successful um, leading my family. Family is obviously very important to me. I think being a guide to my own children. So I think that's how I would like to describe myself. A father who is on a journey and tries to bring along everyone else with me on this journey that I'm on.
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that is a very good answer in my opinion. I think maybe it's a matter of age that you have, come to a realization that these are the most important things in life, isn't it? Right? It's
Yes,
not the titles, job titles, and the people that you know and all the things you have accomplished in life. But the
right.
greatest of all is, yeah, like you say, leader of your family and what
Mm,
is the legacy or heritage you want to leave with them. Thank you
mhm.
for that answer. All right. So how many children do you have, Ravi?
I have two children. They're all grown up. My daughter is will be 31 this year. I can't believe she's 31. I feel like she was just born like a few years ago. My son will be 29 this year. So yeah, two children.
Hey, that's exactly the same age as my two older kids,
Uh-huh.
31 and 29, although this year it will be plus one.
Right.
Now, so let me bring you back to 31 years ago when you first became a father, when you first realized that you're going to be a father. What were some thoughts that were going through your mind, and what did you feel? How did you feel?
Well, I think the birth of my daughter uh, was a miracle to me, I think, because my wife miscarried our first child after about 3 months. And then after that, she would always like hoping she would get pregnant every month, and every month would be a disappointment, and this went on for like between like about 10 or 11 months. And then she'll go into a depressive mode and so on and so forth. But in early 1993, I had a dream that my wife was giving birth to a baby, and it was a baby girl, right? So I told my wife that she's going to give birth on she's we're going to have a baby soon, and there's going to be a it's going to be a baby girl, right? So I mean, true enough, she conceived that month, and but for the longest time, until we went for her first gender confirming scan, right? She was talking to the baby as if it was
It was a
a
boy.
boy. Yes.
Was she hoping to have a boy?
No, no, it's just because of the first child that she miscarried, right? We felt that it was a boy, although it was too
Too
premature to
early, yes. Mm.
do a scan, right? But we knew in our spirit that it was a boy, so I think it was just hangover from that.
Mm. Okay.
Uh, and I had to like keep reassuring her, no, hey, it's a girl, it's not a boy, until we went for our first scan. Then the person who was scanning is like, "Do you want to know the gender of your baby?" I said, "It's a girl, right?" And then the person was like, uh, "How do you know? Can you read scans?" In those days, there were no color imaging and all that like they
Correct,
had
correct. Yeah.
today, right? So I said, "No, no, I just know." And she was like very surprised how I knew the gender. And my wife I still remember one tear because not because she didn't want a baby girl, but because she was talking to the baby as if it was a boy, right? So what I wanted to be as a father, well, I had a very difficult relationship with my own father. I think what defined me, how did I define myself as a father is I wanted to be everything that my father was not. So that's how I define myself as a father.
Wow, that must be not easy. Because if you did not have a model to look at, and emulate, it's like you're working in a vacuum. So how did you manage it? How did you,
I
yeah, how did you find your way?
I mean the I think the one of the main reasons why uh, Christ is very central in my life and why I accepted him is because I felt the love of a father for the first time after I accepted Christ. And I began to realize that, oh, this is what a father's love is. Oh, this is how a father will guide someone. And that's the kind of relationship that I have with God. Like he is my father and he guides me through this journey that I'm having. I was very fairly certain in my mind that I didn't want to be what my father was, in the sense that I didn't want to have the same kind of relationship that I had with my father, with my children.
Mm.
Yeah.
In other words, you didn't want it to repeat, right, from one generation
Yes.
to the next.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
you wanted it to be totally different.
Mm.
Great, great. I'm sure it has turned out well for you. I mean, the way you talked about your family and the photographs I've seen on your Facebook feeds, it's a really close-knitted family. And I've met your son, and he talks, I mean, he thinks the world about you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I think that all that testifies to, yes, how successful you are, and
Yeah.
also thanks to the Lord who has guided you.
Yes. I think, I mean, one of the things that I'm most happy about or proud about is that, during Mother's Day, uh, my children also give me a card on Mother's Day without fail, right?
Okay,
Uh,
to be
of course, the
fair.
mother gets a better card, she get gifts and all that, right? But they also remember me on Mother's Day, and I am very happy, always very happy to get that card for them on Mother's Day.
I think I can answer the question why your kids give you a card on Mother's Day, because without you, your wife wouldn't be a mother.
Right,
So they have to thank you also.
right.
So after being a father for 31 years, in a nutshell, what is fatherhood to you?
I think it's a journey of self-realization. Uh, it is a journey of knowing who you are, and to make myself a better person. Because uh, I I think I have been inadequate as a father. I think I have, in my mind, sometimes I battle if I am a good father at all. But my children keep reassuring me that I am. Like, for example, um, when I went to work in the US, because I felt that was where the Lord was leading us. So I took them away from the systems, the educational system and all that they were so used to, and we lived in a foreign country for that many years, and then when we came back, it was a bit more difficult for them to plug back into the system. So sometimes I tell my children, that, hey, I always believe in having open conversation, no matter how difficult it is. And, so I said, maybe I was not a good father, maybe I should have just like stayed put, so you would have gone through the system, you wouldn't have the kind of gaps that you have, so that it needs to be filled. And my daughter, especially, who's often more vocal, she says that, hey, no, Dad, you're not wrong. We had the kind of experiences that most other children will not have, so we are the richer for it. Now, I think I've made lots of mistakes as a father, but I try to learn from my mistakes. And when I think that I've made a mistake, I apologize to my children. I seek their forgiveness, and I resolve not to do it again. Um, I think there were times when I have punished my children because I was angry, not because, uh, I wanted to correct them for something wrong that they did. Uh, probably also to correct them for what they did. But my motivation was not that. My motivation was anger, right? So
Mm.
later, when the Lord reminds me that I did that because of anger, then I go back, have a conversation, say I'm sorry. That happened because I
Mm.
was angry. So I think to
Welcome to the
me,
club, Robbie.
so yeah, so to me, I think I became a better person, a better man because I'm a father. Yeah, so I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, I really like your answer because it's very different from, I think, what um, the usual answers like, oh, fatherhood is about sacrifice, it's about unconditional love, which is good. Sacrifice is correct, and it's a responsibility and things like that. Now, all these are correct, it's refreshing to hear your answer because you're talking about how it affects you as a person and that having gone through that journey of fathering two children, you have found yourself to grow. And I think what also made it possible and maybe helped along is your willingness to be open, vulnerable, right? And like you say, having open conversations with your children. It's like getting feedback from them, allowing them to give you that 360-degree feedback,
Hmm. Yeah,
right? So that you do not think of yourself, oh, it's the kids who needs to grow up. I don't. Thank you for that. Thank you for reminding us
thank you.
that
Yeah, I mean,
parent.
absolutely, I agree with you because the moment you think that you have nailed it, you know what it means to be a father. Your children have gone to the next level, right? I
Mm,
mean, from toddlers, then suddenly they become teenagers. Then you need to
yeah.
figure out what it means to be a father all over
And
again,
very quickly, they grow
Yeah,
very
and then
quickly.
once you figure out how to be a father, think you have nailed it. Yes, this is it. I know how to be a father to a teenager. They become adults. Oh my gosh.
Ravi, you are also a very busy man. I can see that. Like you
Hmm.
said in your intro, you wear many hats.
Yeah.
So, people talk about work-life balance. What does work-life balance look like to you?
I mean, like you probably we come from a different generation, right? So I come from um, a very poor family, and I always believe that you have to work hard for what you want in life. So in that sense, I am a workaholic. I will admit that I'm a workaholic. Sometimes when I'm working, I go into a rabbit hole, and I don't know how to come out of that rabbit hole sometimes. So, but I always make this a guiding principle, so to speak, from my early days, from the days that I had my children when they were very young, right? Whenever my wife calls or whenever my children call, regardless of how busy I am, how how prominent the persons I am with are, I will always pick up their call. So there are no
Mm,
exceptions to that rule. Why I adhere strictly to that principle is I want my family to know that they are the first priority, they are number one, and nothing is more important for me than my family.
mm. Yeah, I think that's a very clear message you're sending, right? It doesn't have to be how much time you spend with your children and how much money you spend on them,
Hmm.
lavishing them with gifts and maybe,
Hmm.
restaurant, things like that. Well, those are bonuses. I think those are
Right.
good too. Yeah, but these little acts, I think, that you described, these speaks volumes about, yeah, you
Mhm.
are more important than all the other people I know, whether whatever position they hold, right? You are
Mhm.
always more important than them.
Mhm.
Wonderful. I didn't have a good relationship with my father, and so I
Mhm.
did not have a model, to look at and
Mhm.
emulate. Yeah, so I did make many mistakes myself. Yeah, but your wife Catherine, so you've been married many years. I think like 30 plus years.
Yes.
Parenting is teamwork. Would you agree?
Yes, of course.
So how are you two working as a team, and what is your secret?
There's no secret as per se. We just love each other very deeply, and we let our children see that we love each other deeply. I mean, like I said earlier, we come from a different generation, right? So there were stereotypical roles assigned to men and women uh, who are about our age. So I mean, we traditionally we played those roles when we were younger, in the sense that my wife she resigned her job so that she could take care of the children. And she did that until my son was like 13, 14 years old, and he don't need a parent to, don't need a mother to parent him anymore. And she felt like, hey, what do I have to do now, And so she went back to work. So she did that for about 13, 14 years of her life. Of course, we had less to eat, not less to eat, less to eat out in restaurants, less to go for movies, But together we decided that, these are things that we can forego, so that our children can have a more balanced upbringing, so that they can be more grounded and be more steady when they become adults. So these are the things that I think how we complement each other. Yeah. So I mean, I never hesitate to make a fool of myself in front of my children. So we have lots of fun. Laugh along with them, play pranks with them, with my wife. We still do prank her. So yeah.
Yeah, fathers are known to be the clowns in the family. Right?
Yeah.
The famous
Yeah.
dad jokes.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Hey, as we talk, I'm beginning to see we have a lot of similarities. Oh
Right.
dear. You wanted to talk about happiness because you said that it's a subject that really means a lot to you. Would you like to tell us a little bit about how you see happiness, how do you achieve it, and what is happiness?
That's one thing that I always talk to my children about, right? And even when my son was about to get married, before when you have met my daughter-in-law, Joshna, you were their
That's
marriage
right.
counselor.
Yes.
I think the only thing that I told Joshna before she married Jeremy was always seek happiness, because there's nothing more important than to be happy in your life, right? So I have always believed in that, um, and I guess I've always searched for happiness because I come from a very unhappy family, I would say. My father was strict. Well, he's many different things, right? Many different things. Sometimes he's a strict disciplinarian. S- Um, Sometimes he's a very angry person. Of course, he has had his tender
Intentions. I think
moments
every
as
father
well.
has good intentions.
Yeah. So I mean, I remember when I was very young, I have faint memories of him carrying me on his shoulders,
Mm.
showing me off to his friends. But I also have memories of him. I must be like 2.5, 3 years old, of him slapping me in the barber's while we were at the barber, because I wouldn't keep my head straight, and I had the palm print on my hand. Can you imagine a
Oh
one and a
dear.
half, 2-year-old boy with a palm print? So it was a very confusing time, a very confusing period, and I always felt that I always felt that I was unhappy. You know, I mean, to relate another incident, pardon my many stories. Yeah, I think
Oh,
I'm
thank
a
you for sharing.
storyteller. So I think I was in primary one, and I had principal's award for having the best score in science. I had 100 over 100, right? I was the I think I think probably the ninth standard in my entire class, and the whole school I was the 12th best student in the whole school, right? So I was very proud of myself. Uh, I'm sorry. I was the third person in my class and number nine in the entire school, right? Ranking. So I was very proud of myself. I brought my report book to my father, and he gave me a good whacking.
Oh
He said,
my.
"Why aren't you the first? Why did you become the third?" You know, and I was like, became so confused after that. I think that also I'm a very competitive person, right? So I think it's because of my father's influence in my life. I think fathers, whether they are good or they are bad, they influence you in so many ways. Uh, Sometimes it's felt, sometimes it's psychological, sometimes it's just in your head. And unless you think hard enough, you will never be able to decipher how much your father has really affected you. So, and because I come from, uh, I have all these experiences with my own father, I feel that it's pursuit of happiness is very, very important. And regardless of whatever we do, uh, we have to be happy doing it.
All right, I've been asking you question after question, so now I'm going to give you the opportunity to ask me one question.
Yeah, sure. I think what I would really like to know is you have been my son's marriage counselor. So what set you? It's never easy to be a marriage counselor, never easy, because in a sense you have to lay bare some of yourself to the people you're counseling as well. So, what led you to this journey?
Well, thank you for this question. So now I have to also be vulnerable. Well, from a very young age, I've been seeking the answer to this question. How can we make marriages successful? And I guess it stems from my experience at 10 years old when my parents went through a divorce, right? And I've personally experienced how a parent's divorce affects the children in one way or another. Children are affected. So they are, in that sense, the innocent sufferers, right? Victims, and some call it even collateral damage. Um, so yeah, I've been seeking for that answer, and over the years, I have tried to help couples here and there. Although I was not trained. Now, of course, in as years went on, I managed to learn a lot and was had the opportunity of being trained in the Gottman couples therapy and the seven principles of Dr. John Gottman. And Dr. John Gottman is known to be the guru of relationships and marriage. Okay. So I've been using that. I have learned that. I have been sharing it with couples. Yeah. So that in that sense is something I have been wanting to, be better at and hopefully help couples sustain their marriage. And if they have children, that becomes even more important because more lives are at stake. It's not just the
Yes.
happiness of the two
Yes.
people,
Mm,
right? But now you're talking about not just the happiness of the children, but the success of the children.
mhm,
Uh, Even Singapore's MSF has done a survey, quite recently, a couple of years
mhm,
back, about the long-term impact of the parents' divorce on children. They
mm,
have lesser CPF, lower education and things like that. Um, so we cannot ignore that. We cannot go, continue to be ignorant and say, oh, no, no, children are resilient. Well,
Mm,
some are. I would say, according to many studies, it's like 1/3 of children, they possess certain character strengths that
mm,
makes them more resilient,
mhm,
right? But we cannot assume that all children are resilient.
mhm,
Yeah, so we need to protect them. Somebody has to speak up for them.
mhm,
And one of the ways to protect them is to help the parents have a successful marriage. Yeah, sometimes as I help couples, I do share my personal experiences, but not as a model for them,
mhm,
right? I share experiences in for the purpose of helping them see, hey, what you're going through is not new.
mm,
Welcome to the club, right?
right.
Okay, and the longer you have been married, the more you will taste, the different kinds of struggles and
Yes.
challenges, like, um, and if you are prepared to be teachable, all right, and to learn from each other and to let each other, like iron sharpens iron,
Yeah.
uh, you actually get better. You
Yeah.
can only get better,
Mm,
and so just be patient, just be understanding, all right, and work things through. Never give up, and
mm,
it will definitely turn out well.
yes. Thanks, Parksen. My son tells me that you're a very good marriage counselor,
Oh,
which
thank you very much.
I mean he found out many different sides of him from your counseling. Yeah, and they both are very happy now. I think you had a very good you had a very important role to play in their marriage.
So thank you, Ravi, for
Yeah,
spending this time with me and being so open to share your life, your parenting, your fathering journey with us. So have a nice day.
thank you.